Hi, I'm Pastor Fred, and this is my friend Mr. Wiley. And we just completed part one on his early story. Now we would talk about the second part of his story, which is talking about my game plan for self care and purpose. And this began from on November the 6th, 2018, when we first started talking, didn't it, Wiley?
Yes, sir.
And and I'm just going to mention some of these things and let him tell you what he is doing in this project. Now, one of the things he actually helped me with was, if you remember, I told you I was working on something for couples, remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember what I told you it was?
I think like come together comes to mind, but it's
Yeah.
the COME.
Yeah.
What does that stand for?
Yes. Well, what it stood for was couples on ministry every day together. Come together.
That's right.
And what did Sarah say to you when you told her about that project?
Yeah, because you wanted to videotape us as a couple to see
Yeah.
how we got through the diction and all that. And
Yeah.
she says, well, they're going to have to pay me. And I just said, I'll just tell them you don't want to do it.
Oh my gosh. Well, in the last video we talked about, your self-care and building a support network. Can you kind of tell us again about your network starting in May and some of the things you did?
Right after my wife's death, I, got a therapist because, emotionally I was a wreck. I had, spiritually advisor and trying to, I went to the doctor. I started to look, getting my health issues, which was blood pressure and my attention deficit under control, and then working a game plan from there on, steps going forward.
Yeah. And I remember talking to you. The first thing was the 5 S's against the funk.
Right.
And, and I won't embarrass you to get you to try to remember them. But it was scripture.
Right.
It was sayings. And it was songs.
Right, which is my favorite
Yeah.
because I'm a music person.
Yeah, and a sense of humor.
Right.
And recently we added sense of art and technology and some meditation and stuff. And we actually did some of the meditation.
Right.
But again, what was your favorite one again? What did you say?
The songs, because, there's messages through songs, I feel like.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We went through that. And then the next thing we did, we talked about your 5 love languages. Do you remember anything about the 5 love languages?
I know the one of them, the affirmation.
Right.
Using kind words to build people up, and I know another one's gifts.
Yeah.
Service. There was another one.
So those were your primary 3, weren't they not?
Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely. Thank you. And the real reason we're doing this is because the opioid addiction, it just really attacks relationships, and we wanted to restore the relationships, and we talked over and over, and Sarah joined us many times in discussing that. And she didn't send me a bill for it.
No, she didn't. But I mean, I knew that I had ruined the trust of everyone, and that was something that,
Yeah. I got to ask you. Now think about this. The songs. When the last buprenorphine you took from us on June 28th, where were you headed? Do you remember?
I was actually here in Charlotte,
Right.
And I went to a Grateful Dead or Dead and Company show because I wanted to be around 30,000 of my friends sober, and it was great. I had a great time. So,
So anyway, and then the game plan, we talked about it. The emotional, that was the first thing we worked on.
Right.
The physical. Tell us about how you address your physical.
Well, I mean, I'd never really gone to the doctor because we didn't have health insurance. I was somewhat healthy, but I didn't want to die from opiates or from anything. So basically, my blood pressure and the other issues. But I'm doing good now. Everything is, where it needs to be, and I feel healthy. Everybody says you look healthy.
Yeah. Would you encourage everybody else to do that?
Oh,
too?
absolutely. Don't waste any time for sure.
Also, I can tell you, in looking from you, knowing you, You've been eating better, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
Nutrition.
I haven't missed one meal, Pastor Fred.
Oh, now the other thing I would ask you about, one of the other issues is the mental.
Yeah.
You've always been a learner per se, right? I mean,
Yeah.
just because of your work.
Right.
How would you describe your mental?
A quest for knowledge. I mean, the more that I can, find out or what to do, what not to do, try to follow the instructions this time when before I hadn't been following the instructions. So, it's.
Yeah. And of course, you're still on the social journey of a way, aren't you? Tell me about how you're dealing socially now. What's going on in your life socially?
I pretty much have been working a lot with my dog, training him for a service animal.
Yes.
Also for tracking, scent tracking, so that possibly we could find lost kids.
Sure.
So because dogs and kids are close to mom.
Oh,
so,
I know that. I know that. Yeah. So that was awesome. And one thing too, one of the areas that we talk about in the game plan, and we've talked about it. What about the finances, without getting private or
Right.
anything? But what would you say about your
finances?
finances?
I wasted a lot of money on drugs, but I mean now it's that I've got my finances are in order where I don't have to worry anymore about paying my bills or because I have money that I have. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
it's that's another one that you see progress right away. That once you get in a program that your bank account
Sure.
grows and doesn't. It goes up instead of down. So
At least most of the time.
well, sometimes. Yes.
All right, I'm gonna bring this back around to the other part of the game plan, and that's the spiritual.
Right.
I'm gonna talk to you first about. It's been very apparent since I've met you that spirituality is part of your life, your relationship to
Yes.
God, Jesus, and everything.
Right.
It's been there the whole time. But there was a story you told me, not only about, what about the tree you planted? What was that tree?
The golden rain tree that I planted
Yes.
on Corn Dog's grave it has these little like paper mache. They look like little golden hearts. I looked at it as like teardrops.
Yeah.
But it was something that would it was my favorite tree, and I never got to plant it. I guess I saved it
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah.
But nature has always helps me to heal too. I like to be with nature and God's creation, and I feel like you can feel Him better when you're outside.
Oh yeah. Well, and when we talked during the month of June, when you were going through truly the storms of your life,
Oh God.
where did I find you most of the time?
At the beach, Wilmington, Florida, Topsail.
Yeah.
Because we always would talk, and then you're like, "Oh, I'm going to the beach." I'm like, "Oh, where are you going?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you did it. You did well.
Right.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention about God and nature with you. Well, of course, you're being on the beach and everything. You were meditating. You remember
Right,
that? We
yeah.
talked about that.
Yeah,
We talked
because
about.
I felt close to God there because of just the energy and the power of the ocean.
Yeah.
It was like I felt closest to God there.
Yeah. Well, there was one other thing, and I was totally unaware of this, and you taught me, and you sent me the information, and I hope I get it right. It was the Pasquale Flower?
Or a Pasquale Flower. It's named after Passover. It's a flower that's native to Alaska. My daughter, soon after her mother's death, was hiking. It wasn't there when she went by. When she came back by, this purple flower was there.
Oh,
Sarah's
wow.
favorite color was purple. A native Alaskan told her that that's the first flower that blooms after a hard storm. It's bendable. It's not breakable. They used it for medicine and calming, and it was a sign from God for my daughter that your mom's with me. So it sort of, confirmed that, she was at home. So
That was so powerful, and thank you for sharing that with
Yeah.
me. And I loved it. I loved it because what
Yeah.
you just said, we go through storms, and sometimes we feel like we're going to break, but we didn't break. And this plant was a perfect example. It would bend.
right, but you can't break it. Sort of like us.
Yeah.
You can bend us, but you can't break us.
this was some of the most surprising things about you when it came to spiritual stuff.
Right.
Later on and most recently, and this is part of our game plan where we're headed, because like we said, our pains become our purpose, and that's what we're exploring. But first we got to do self-care, and you've done
Right.
you're and self-care is all the time.
Right.
Well, this one is something that you told me about, and I want you to tell everybody about. Tell us about your spiritual life and your involvement with God and everything.
Right.
What all did you do?
Well, I mean, my grandfather was a preacher, so I grew up with, him telling me that I should be a preacher like him, which I said at that time, I can be a minister, but I can't be a preacher. But went to church as a kid, and then Sarah and I got married about 10 or 12 years ago. We had started going to church. We had a life-changing things happen, and both elders. She worked with the homeless. I worked with people in prison and stuff like that. So I had a connection to build up the community and not tear it down. So that's sort of.
Let me ask you this. This is where you are now. You're getting your self-care. You're looking at purpose. Have you got any idea which way you're going right now, or just still praying about it?
I'm still praying about it, and just I really I'm not rushing it. I mean it's it's coming up not far from when it'll be a year, and I got time to figure it out. But I mean I don't know what I can do. Hopefully help others by just being there for them. Be a cog in their wheel of support, so to say. Like you've talked about before.
Well, and we have talked about this. From day one you met, I said, your best recovery from relapse is going to be you helping other people with
Right.
addiction but you got to do your self-care first.
Right.
You're on that journey. You're still self-caring, but you're talking more and more. And I'll be honest with you, when you started talking about, I looked it up. This was I hope I got it right. What was the name of the prison ministry?
Kairos Prison Ministry.
Yeah, you were very involved in that, were you not?
That was about 10 years ago or so, but it was a way that, but by the grace of God, I should have been in prison. So I felt like that would be something that, with my lifestyle, that others in prison could relate to.
Your addictions.
My addictions and showing God's love to them. So.
Well, I have one thing to say. About a week or so ago when we were talking about this,
Right.
you sent me the text to a song, and I was actually looking up that song and thinking how it could be applied in church. And back when in my old days when I was played in bands and churches, we played this song. What song? Do you remember which one it was?
Yeah, it was Buck Owens, I Get By with a Little Help from My Friends.
Yeah, the Beatles song.
Right, well, Beatles actually, but I didn't know Buck Owens had did it until I sent you the link, and I figured you would appreciate.
Well, now
Buck
wait a
Owens.
minute. That's two songs.
Right.
You sent me two songs. The first one was With a Little Help from My Friends.
Right.
And you sent me the whole thing, remember? And
Right.
then the second one, when I told you about the video, what did you say?
Oh, the one about it's the Ringo Starr
Yeah.
song. I guess they're going to put me in the movies, and all I got to do is act naturally about doing this video.
Yeah.
So I found a song that applied.
I know.
I'm the song guy.
And you sent it to me.
Right, and you had been looking up at the
Yes, and I mean,
Yeah.
here are two songs you sent me. You sent me the one With a Love for My Friends,
Right.
which goes way back, and it fits exactly into building our network with a
Right.
little help from our friends. We
Right.
talked about it. And then the other thing was, when I told you we were going to make this video, you
Right.
fired this
The
thing.
act naturally.
Yeah, act naturally. And I did not remember that. I had to go back and pulled it up, that it was originally from Buck Owens, and you sent that to me too. All right, I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm going to say that each and every one of you have gone through different events in your life. Not necessarily the same events, which I hope they don't,
Right.
but they've been through different events
But
in their
they've been
lives.
just as powerful,
Yeah.
I would say.
You got any closing remarks you want to say?
We can all make it you just got to let people like Pastor Fred and Dr. Red, you know, accept their help and work their program. Trust me, it works. I'm an example of it.
All right. All of us need to ask this question. Where do I go from here? And he said that. He said, I don't know yet. But he's looking at all of his pains and all the junk you've been through, and you've been through, brother. And, you know, I care a lot about you. And I love you,
Thank
brother.
you. I love you too, man.
I'm Pastor Fred, and he may be Pastor Wiley another day from here listening to him.
Wiley.
But right now, we just want to tell all of y'all, God bless you and have a great time. And I really hope this video can help you in your struggle and, more importantly, in strengthening you. God bless you.